Hello again, everybody, and welcome to Gamecock Central Radio. It's Emerson Phillips, joined by Wes Mitchell, talking Gamecock football today. Wes, Gamecock football picking up an in-state commitment yesterday, one of the top players in South Carolina for the upcoming high school football year that will get underway in just a couple of months, and really one of the top dual-threat quarterbacks in the country, Wes. Decarion Joiner out of Fort Dorchester High School, 6'2", 200-pounder, really racking up some big numbers the last couple of years, heading into his senior year at Fort D. Committed to the Gamecocks yesterday, Wes. A special Father's Day announcement for Decarion Joiner, who wanted to honor his late father, who died of a heart attack at age 35 when Decarion was just 9 years old. So Decarion had tears in his eyes rolling down his cheeks yesterday, Wes, as he made this announcement committing to South Carolina.
Yeah, really, really special day for him. And, you know, he wanted to do it this way and make it really special. And I thought it was actually one of the more, you know, I've been to a ton of these things over the years. It was one of the more well-done, you know, announcements that I've been to. Everything sort of went off without a hitch. And then he, of course, committed to South Carolina there at the end of the ceremony. And the Gamecocks get a kid, like you said, that's very, very well, highly thought of, had offers from all over the country. You know, at one time had offers from Alabama, Clemson, Florida, Georgia, Oregon, Virginia Tech, NC State, obviously, you know, big-time offers. And really, if you start thinking about modern-day high school football players in the state of South Carolina, you know, probably one of the better high school football players that this state has seen. So, big-time get for South Carolina. It's someone that's been on the scene since the 8th grade when he first got an offer. You know, this kid's a household name for people that follow high school football in the state of South Carolina. So obviously, as far as sort of being someone that can be a face of the recruiting class and get out there and make people take notice, you know, I think this is a big get for Will Muschamp in a number of ways.
Packed house yesterday at the Fort Dorchester High School Gymnasium in North Charleston for the Decarion Joiner announcement. Gamecock freshman wide receiver Ortre Smith from Wando High School in the Charleston area was in attendance for this announcement yesterday. And Wes, Joiner took over the starting quarterback job at Fort Dorchester in the 9th grade. You mentioned that he got an offer from the Steve Spurrier coaching staff when he was in the 8th grade, and Muschamp transitioned very nicely with South Carolina as far as Joiner's recruitment. Joiner talked about that after he made the announcement yesterday, so I wanted to get you to talk about, you know, how Will Muschamp came in, and really one of the first recruits that he called was Decarion Joiner. We're going to give you some of Joiner's numbers here in just a moment, just eye-popping numbers for Decarion Joiner, dual-threat quarterback out of Fort Dorchester who committed to the Gamecocks yesterday. Gamecocks been on him a long time, Wes.
Yeah, and you know, this is a situation where even though Steve Spurrier in South Carolina offered first, I feel pretty comfortable saying that he was not going to end up at South Carolina until Will Muschamp took over and really made him more of a priority. There was a lot of talk about, you know, recruiting him as an athlete versus a pure quarterback. You know, some other schools were doing the same, recruit Decarion as an athlete. Will Muschamp and Kurt Roper, the quarterback's coach / co-offense coordinator, you know, they came in, made him a priority from day one, but more importantly, made him a quarterback priority. And that's something that, you know, Joiner's heard all the talk about, is he an athlete, is he a quarterback? That's something he sort of embraced, the idea of proving people wrong and proving to people that he is a quarterback. And, you know, this is a situation where that staff did a great job of developing that early relationship, making him feel very, very comfortable at South Carolina. And you could almost sort of see the wheels turning as he got more and more comfortable, took multiple visits to Columbia. You know, they really kind of turned this thing, and I think it just all paid off for South Carolina on, you know, we say Sunday when he went public. Joiner had actually already committed to the staff a number of months earlier, but all that attention that they paid to him, you know, Roper was down there in the Low Country every chance he got, went as many times as the NCAA pretty much allows you as far as visits go, saw Joiner play multiple times. You know, really just, they made him know that he was a priority, and I think at the end of the day, that was a big, big deal for him. He's got a great relationship with Muschamp, and they've sold him on the fact that this, this offense can be really, really good with a dual threat quarterback under center, and that's what Joiner wants to be.
Joyner's a 4-star quarterback from Fort Dorchester, threw for 3,643 yards last year, including 44 touchdown passes. He was the 2016 South Carolina Gatorade Player of the Year. Also ran for over 1,000 yards and 12 touchdowns last year. Joyner's 27-2 as a starting quarterback, both losses coming against Dutch Fork. Dutch Fork won the state title last year in 5A football, but Fort D won it 2 years ago. Big boy football here in South Carolina. So Wes, 27-2 as a starter. He's playing against the top competition in South Carolina, and early indications are that he plans to enroll at South Carolina in December. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, he'll graduate in December, enroll in January. We'll go through spring practice at South Carolina. You know, that's been his plan for a while, that he wants to go ahead and get on campus and go from there. So I think that's always a positive thing, that if a kid is mature enough to handle it, and I think that Joyner is, always good to go ahead and get in, get acclimated to the surroundings, not just on the football field, but off it, figuring out the lay of the land with classes and study hall and all that good stuff. But, and this is a kid that, and I think he'd tell you there's still some things he's going to have to clean up mechanically as a quarterback that he's going to work on. So getting in there early and being able to work on that stuff with Kurt Roper, the quarterback's coach, and not sort of be rushed into action potentially, I think those are all positives for Joyner. And this is a kid, you really look at him, the upside is absolutely tremendous. Now, when you're talking about a quarterback, it's all about working to sort of get to that upside. You have to develop. It's a developmental game is something Will Muschamp says all the time. Can he get to that point? Can he develop to where he reached his upside? If he does, then he's going to be a very, very successful quarterback in college. I think, the upside, I always kind of look at what's the worst the guy could be, what's the best the guy could be. I think the upside, as far as if he can reach that potential, he kind of reminds you at the same stage a little bit of Lamar Jackson. That's not to say that Decarion Joiner is going to go win the Heisman Trophy, but I'm just talking about in pure ability at the same age, the same point in their careers. That's sort of the guy that his playing style reminds you of.
Joyner won the state title at Fort D as a sophomore, 48 combined touchdowns that year for the Patriots, came back last year and had 56 combined touchdowns. He's passed for over 3,000 yards both years as a starter, and he's also rushed for over 1,000 yards in both years as Fort Dorchester starting quarterback. So he's still got his senior year of high school football to come. And you watch film on Joyner, Wes, the footwork stands out. He considers himself a passer first and a runner second, but the footwork is outstanding, Wes. You can tell this kid has been coached up. He's an incredible athletic talent, and he's got a tremendous amount of upside. We're going to talk more about how he fits into the Gamecocks' plans for the future. If Bentley leaves after his third year, Joyner could be poised to step in as the Gamecocks quarterback in his second year with the program, and we don't want to put the cart before the horse here, but clearly Muschamp and the staff are looking ahead to the future with Decarion Joiner, who could be the Gamecocks starting quarterback in the not-too-distant future.
Absolutely, yeah. You mentioned the footwork. He's got some of the quickest feet that you'll see, and he's a fast decision maker. This is the kid that's going to make that split-second decision and either turn it loose or take off running. And I've seen him absolutely, whether it was the state championship game as a sophomore or in the playoffs last year as a junior against Conway. I was down there for that game. By all purposes, a pretty good Conway team, and they were hanging in there early on, and then Joyner just absolutely took over the game with his arm, with his speed. I think his biggest thing is when he gets outside the pocket too, and you have to worry about his feet, and he still can get the ball down the field deep on, while throwing on the run. So, this is a guy, as far as a high school quarterback goes, other than Dutch Fork, nobody's really had an answer for how to slow him down or how to stop him. So, it's been fun to watch, and I know that those two losses to Dutch Fork kind of eat away at him, and he's dedicated to trying to get back and win another state title to finish his high school career. And, this is one of those kids, some guys, and I don't know that you always, the it factor is a word that just gets thrown around a lot. I don't like to throw it around a ton, but when you talk about confidence, and not necessarily cockiness, but just confidence in his ability and leadership ability, this is a guy that just sort of exudes that. And So I think that's always something you want in a teammate. That's especially something you want in a quarterback. Steve LaPrade, the coach there, told me that, not only is Joyner his most talented guy, but he's also his hardest worker. So, I go back to Marcus Lattimore at South Carolina. You always want your best player to also be your hardest worker, and that's what Fort D has in Decarion Joiner, so that's always a good sign.
Gamecock Central Radio, Emerson Phillips with Wes Mitchell. We're talking about Decarion Joiner, the latest commitment to the Gamecock football family. Joiner, 6'2", 200 pounds, out of Fort Dorchester High School, getting ready for his senior year, and he will enroll early at South Carolina. Plans to enroll coming up in January of 2018. You can download the Gamecock Central Radio app on the App Store and on Google Play to subscribe to our podcast. Search for Gamecock Central Radio. You can find us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and other popular services, or just visit radio.GamecockCentral.com. So, Wes, really a cornerstone commitment, if you will, here for Will Muschamp as far as the upcoming signing class is concerned. And, Joyner, a kid that the Gamecocks might be able to hang their hat on for the next few years. And I would think, keeping a kid of this caliber in state is a real win for Muschamp and his staff in terms of recruiting, and something that they can use to probably land some other recruits in state as well. Just a really big announcement yesterday from Decarion Joiner, an emotional press conference yesterday at the Fort Dorchester High School gym, and Gamecock fans very excited to have Joiner coming into the fold.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, he's a kid that, like I said, people take notice. He's been a household name in the state for a long time. That's not just with fans. That's with other players. You look at Twitter, the number of guys that would really have no other connection to Joyner at all. I mean, they're part of that sort of high school football fraternity in the state. Congratulating them on committing, and I think it's just kind of one of those things. It's a big deal for South Carolina. It's a big deal for Will Muschamp to get a kid like that. And, hey, Fort Dorchester, we've seen highly recruited guys come out of Fort Dorchester, and we've seen South Carolina be right there with them. We've seen South Carolina finish second with a lot of Fort Dorchester prospects. You can go all the way back, to Carlos Dunlap. You look at John Simpson, four-star offensive lineman a couple of years ago. You look at those guys, and you look at how it's been hard for South Carolina to break through at Fort D with the highest recruited guys, and you see this may be the most highly regarded guy Fort Dorchester's had at least in recent memory. So for South Carolina to sort of break through with him is obviously a big deal.
Yeah, Dunlap was a big prospect coming out of Fort D, ended up playing at Florida, and of course is now in the National Football League. And Robert Quinn, another quality player from Fort Dorchester, signed with North Carolina. He's in the National Football League as well. So Fort Dorchester producing some top-flight football talent. Decarion Joiner, the latest product from Fort Dorchester, has committed to play with the South Carolina Gamecocks. So, Wes, let's talk a little bit more Gamecock football here before we sign off today. June, a big month for the coaches' camps, 9 days of camps, and these are for high school football prospects, kids that are still in high school. Maybe the Gamecocks have offered some of these kids or are considering offering some of them. So talk about the camps that have gone on in Columbia during the month of June here, Wes.
Yeah, they're now, as of Saturday, officially done with the camps for June. They'll have one more in July. They're only allowed 10 days of camp during the summer per NCAA rules. So they knocked out 9 of them in early June. You want to get as many kids on campus as possible. Really, honestly, as early as possible, because when those new offers are going out, you want to be first. You want to find these guys first. So actually had 3,000 plus kids on campus for camps. From what we were told, they had more. Last summer they actually had 20 camps, double what they'll have this year. But we were, they had 3,000 plus kids. We were told they had more talent on campus during this sort of 9-day window than they did all of June last year. That the level of interest has gone up as far as products go. And, this staff puts a huge amount of emphasis on these camps because it's an opportunity to get in and evaluate the kids in person, to work them out, to get them to do what you want them to do, to time them in NFL-style combine testing. So, always important. 9 days knocked out, and by all indications went very, very well. And now the staff, I believe the recruiting calendar goes dead for a couple weeks. Staff gets to take a break. Actually, right now as we speak, this is sort of the last little vacation that the staff will have from now sort of heading into July 4th weekend and all that. They'll get a little bit of a break, and then, hey, before we know it, we're talking about, a July camp, and then we're talking about fall camp for the actual football team. So football season will be here before we know it.
That's right. We're recording on Monday, June 19th. We are 75 days away from the start of 2017 Gamecock football, 75 days until kickoff against the NC State Wolfpack. South Carolina will take on NC State in Charlotte. Wes, good report today. Great news for Gamecock football with Decarion Joiner from Fort Dorchester committing to South Carolina yesterday. And it looks like the Gamecocks may have one of their quarterbacks of the future now in the fold. So big announcement yesterday, and we're happy to talk about it with you on Gamecock Central Radio. Thanks, Wes.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. And I just wanted to say it was, like I said, I've been to a lot of these things, but that one Sunday was pretty special just being there. You could tell how much it meant to Decarion to sort of get to honor his father, and it was a very, very classy ceremony. There were no hat tricks or anything like that. So that was probably one of my favorite ones I've got to be a part of. So that was pretty exciting, and I think the Gamecocks got a good one on the field and all.
Yeah, if you haven't seen the film on Decarion Joiner yet, do yourself a favor and check it out. It's all over the internet, and it'll be worth a couple minutes of your time just to see this young man do what he does on the football field. Tremendous footwork. Very excited about the prospect for Decarion Joiner. So we'll talk more about him, and we got plenty more Gamecock football to come here on Gamecock Central Radio. For Wes Mitchell, I'm Emerson Phillips. Thanks for being with us.